Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to düzdanışaq, Straight Talk, an Azerbaijani news channel, commentary channel, interview channel, broadcasting from Washington, D.C. I welcome everybody, especially our growing global audience. I know it sounds ambitious, but in reality, yes, our audience is all over the world, and we're very happy to see everyone. Today, we're talking to Kamran Mammadli, who is Georgian, of Azerbaijani descent. He's a researcher. And let me set up the context for this interview today. Last month, we saw unfortunate incidents, a couple of incidents in Georgia, involving ethnic Azerbaijanis. One of the clashes resulted in the death of a Georgian Azerbaijani youth in Tbilisi, in the capital. We Azerbaijanis in general are quite sensitive to these sorts of things when it comes to our ethnic brethren. Of course, they're Georgian citizens, and we understand that and we acknowledge that, but they're also part of our family. And whether your family lives at home or abroad, we cannot sort of treat them differently, right? The Caucasus is a place where populations are interspersed. We know that. We know that diversity makes us stronger, makes us culturally more rich, and I understand this is sort of a consensus almost everywhere. Let me explain another part of our thinking. We Azerbaijanis are traumatized by the fact that we've seen expulsions of ethnic Azerbaijanis in the Caucasus, in South Caucasus. This is a scar on our body, and we cannot ignore it. Our special attention to Georgia is explained by, first of all, special relations, good relations between the governments of Azerbaijan and Georgia, and I believe between the people, too. I truly believe this is a sincere expression of our goodwill towards our neighbors in Georgia. I've been traveling to that country since I remember myself. That was probably my first ever trip abroad from Azerbaijan when I was a child. Of course, back then, Georgia was not abroad. It was part of the same country, but still it was outside of Azerbaijan, outside of my home. On the other hand, with the exception of Iran, Georgia is the home of the largest Azerbaijani population currently. Of course, we're not talking about countries like Russia and Ukraine where Azerbaijanis travel in search of better life. We're talking about Azerbaijanis residing abroad in the context, in a historic context. Basically, they've been residing there for quite some time. And by Caucasus measure, quite some time is quite some time. So yes, this does draw our special attention, not only of this channel, but of our audience and of our people in general, as evidenced by heightened interest in the events, regrettable events last month in parts of Georgia, in Tbilisi and in Tbilisi, in the capital. So we decided to explore the way Azerbaijanis in Georgia are treated, the way they see themselves, the way they perceive their identity, and the way the rest of the Georgian citizens perceive their group as it identifies itself. During the previous conversations with one of the Georgian guests, we ran into this article, It's in Russian, unfortunately. It's titled Dominant View on the Azerbaijani Community in Georgia. And it identifies 4 types of views. I'm scrolling it down so those of you who speak Russian may understand it. Azerbaijanis as invisible, source of danger, backward, and also perceived through the prism of the neighboring country of Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, I could not find this article in English for you, but I found it in Azerbaijani as well. It exists at marniulfm.ge. Today, my guest and I are speaking English. We wanted to speak Azerbaijani, which is a native language for both of us, but we thought that the audience in Georgia might also be interested in the problems and in the possible solutions to these problems, and also listen in. So our guest, unfortunately, cannot accommodate us in Russian, but he can speak English, and that's why we extended an invitation to speak English. Kamran Mammadli, good evening, and welcome to our show.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me and for having me, and for this conversation, for this chance.
Kamran, we wanted to talk to you about this article. It was published sometime in 2019, in late 2019. If I'm not mistaken, it's November. It was published at primetbilisi.ge, pt.ge, and then reposted in Azerbaijani a month later. My question is, these 4 categories that you've identified in it, let me repeat them. Azerbaijanis as invisible, source of danger, backward, and viewed through the prism of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Has anything changed in the last couple of years since you published that article, or everything is pretty much the same? These 4 categories remain intact?
I cannot say that anything dramatically changed during this last 2 years, but I can argue and I can bring additional examples of Azerbaijanis being invisible, Azerbaijanis being perceived as a threat and danger in the country, Azerbaijanis being perceived as less cultured, less educated, less civilized group in the country, and seeing ethnic Azerbaijanis, perceiving ethnic Azerbaijanis through the prism of the Republic of Azerbaijan neighboring country.
The events in Tbilisi and the death of the Azerbaijani youth in Tbilisi, let's put it this way. Was it a long time happening? Sort of, was it getting to this point little by little, or was it a complete surprise and out of thunder out of clear skies?
Let me put this this issue this way. I think and I believe, and I'm currently writing and research and trying to analyze what happened in Tbilisi. And right now we're conducting interviews with both sides, with those people who were the owners of the supermarket, those people who came to the supermarket, those people who participated in the conflict on the 17th of May, the next day of the first incident. And I came to believe that the issue, the conflict really started on interpersonal conflict. What I mean by interpersonal conflict is that in Caucasus, in Georgia, the existing social economic situation is this way, that ethnic minorities, those regions, ethnic minorities reside, and also the whole country has challenges in social economic issues. And I can say that the conflict on the 16th of May, what happened in reality, someone, ethnic Georgian, went to the supermarket and asked for the beer for the debt, this is the kind of a culture in the regions, and as well as in some parts of the capital. And I believe it's all over the Caucasus, this culture, that you are taking the product, you know the owner of supermarket, and then you pay afterwards. Something like this happens all the time in Georgia and say in Manisa as well. But what happened, there was this kind of the argument between the owner of the market and the client, the customer, because the owner of the market refused to give the beer, and the whole incident started based on 2 bottles of beer, and the argument started based on this 2 bottles of beer. I truly believe, and based on my research, it's not only my belief, or it's not only my sincere thoughts, it's what the interviews, the communication between both sides, and also as well as the owner of the market, shows me that the reality was the issues of 2 bottles of beer. But there is much more than that, yeah? And what is much more than that, yeah? After the conflict, after the refusal and the argument between these 2 persons, the situation gets warmer. Various people get involved in the conflict, and those people or those customers who wanted to get the beer as a debt, they got in conflict with different ethnic Azerbaijanis, the neighboring people, the neighbors of the supermarket.
So that means, I'm sorry, that does mean in a way that tensions have been building up, because otherwise an interpersonal conflict, like if I have a conflict with somebody, let's say in Georgia, it doesn't really matter what my ethnicity is. I mean, it's just between me and that person. But when tensions start building, and when soon you have clashes between ethnic Swans, which I understand to be another group within, Georgian identity, and Azerbaijanis, that means that there was something underlying the situation, right?
Let me put this way, yeah. The existing in Qoymağı region and other parts of Georgia, ethnic Azerbaijanis, other ethnic groups resides, yeah. But our observations, and I'm working almost couple of years researching inter-ethnic relations, the ethnic domination and ethnic minority rights issues, and we observe that real existence, real solidary living, inter-ethnic community building in Georgia does not happen in the regions or in the capital. So what happens, we have, for example, the Manisi, we have one municipality where less than 20,000 people live, and there is invisible lines between ethnic groups, and it's everywhere. You can see this, that ethnic minorities and ethnic dominant ethnic group does not have a coexisting spaces. They don't do business together most of the time. There is few cases, but there is no much more inter-ethnic marriage. There is no the integration programs supported by the government. There is no cooperations, for example, between ethnic Azerbaijanis and ethnic Georgians. So we have the Manisi and other municipalities. This is just a case incident what happened in Manisi, but we have other municipalities such as Marneuli, Bolnisi, Gardabani, where ethnic minorities do live in the municipality, but they kind of, we can say there is a parallel reality between ethnic minorities and ethnic majority.
So there are a lot of things to unpack here. As I understand, the perception of Azerbaijanis by the rest of the Georgian society, and also the perception of Azerbaijanis of their own self-identity. You also talked about the integration or lack of integration programs. This is the issue that other guests from Georgia brought up. And I can never understand exactly what the problem is because I don't travel to the region. But I'm curious to know, you and as a Georgian citizen, you speak perfect Georgian. So that was not a problem for you. Often Azerbaijanis, we hear that openly or sort of like covertly coming from our Georgian guests saying that it is sort of Azerbaijanis have themselves to blame for not integrating into the Georgian society. What does it look like on the ground? What does the integration program look like on the ground? Is the Georgian Ministry of Education sort of offering these programs to all Azerbaijanis? Is there education in Georgian available, widely available? And a wider question here. Are Georgians, the rest of Georgians, interested in Azerbaijanis becoming integrated in their society or not?
Very good question about the language barriers, about the dominant ethnic group being interested in integration. Yeah. First of all, let me put this way. Those people who say that ethnic Azerbaijanis themselves do not want to integrate into Georgian society, they are those people who perceive ethnic Azerbaijanis as less educated, less cultured, less civilized. Why? Because they have never traveled to these regions where ethnic minorities live. They have never seen the schools where ethnic minorities or ethnic Azerbaijanis are studying. They have no idea that ethnic Azerbaijani regions, those 4 municipalities, Gardabani, Marnoli, Bolnisi, Dmanisi, almost doesn't have kindergartens. Almost doesn't have kindergartens. Most of the villages, those villages where ethnic minorities resides, schools does not have Georgian teachers. Most of the time, if you are a student such as 1+4 program participant, if you are a young person such as myself or my friends from our Salam platform or various organizations, civic activists, and you want to be a teacher teaching Georgian language and teaching and become a teacher in your village, there is systemic barriers in your face, and the system does not let you to become a teacher. The system does not let you to participate in the educational system. The system wants to leave the ethnic minority villages the way they are, just because afterwards they have the argument to argue and to say that ethnic minority doesn't want to study Georgian language and do not want to integrate into Georgian society. We have a lot of friends who have registered, who have certificates to become a teacher, but the school districts, regional organization which is controlling the school bodies in the region does not let you to get into the schools. And as I said, you don't have kindergartens. You don't have, most of the time, you don't have the basic infrastructure in your school to get a proper education. According to the studies, ethnic minority school children, pupils, have 20% less results in various tests rather than ethnic Georgians, and those ethnic Georgians living in the center, in the capital. So there is a couple of layers into that. First, you are an ethnic minority in Georgia. Second, you live in a periphery, in the region. You don't live in the capital. Third, if you are coming from a socially weak family, you cannot afford hiring a private teacher or tutor to teach you, to give you, to assist you in studying Georgian language. So the system, the approach of educational Minister of Education is always to put the blame on ethnic minorities, in this case ethnic Azerbaijanis, and say that you don't want to study Georgian language. The results show differently. The statistics, for example, right now there is 1+ program. which is a tool for ethnic minorities to get into university, to get enrolled in the universities. And we see that thousands of students are studying in the Georgian universities. But the problem exists because, first of all, 3,000 and 5,000 students cannot change the reality. Secondly, we have this kind of challenge in Georgia. For example, municipalities, local governance systems are operating in the state language. That's okay. And at the same time, we don't have only the youth, which is part of our society. We have elderly population. We have population more than 60 years old, 70 years old, and mid-age population. Yeah, those people who lived in the Soviet Union, or those people who saw the 90s and who didn't have chance to participate in this kind of programs. I'm talking about 1+4 program. So this kind of people, this group of people has no voice in the local self-governing processes. And local self-governing system is the one who decides in which village the kindergarten will be opened and in which one it won't be open. So this, I'm always using the word the system because we are facing in Georgia ethnic minority, we are facing systemic problems, systemic injustices, systemic, I could say, discrimination. Maybe the mayor of Marnolis municipality is a very honest, very inclusive, very friendly, and likes very much ethnic Azerbaijanis. But we see that the system does not let individuals to transform the situation, because the existing system needs systematic changes and structural reforms.
So you were referring to 4+1. Sorry, I'll put your mic on mute for a second while I'm asking the question. We hear the echo. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. So our guest was referencing 4+1 program in Georgian schools. From what I understand from our previous guest, and he will correct me if I'm wrong, it's an immersive program of Azerbaijani studying for 4 years in their language and then 1 year immersive Georgian studies so they could move forward. My question is, Kamran, based on what you were saying, is there a difference in access and in integration level between Azerbaijanis, ethnic Azerbaijanis residing in the cities, let's say the capital, and on the periphery, as you called it, people living in the province? Is that a factor in terms of accessing jobs in the future, integrating into the Georgian, let's say, police, the government, businesses, etc.? Rural versus urban, is that a major factor there?
So let me put this way. I have a lot of friends coming from Tbilisi who maybe went to a private school, who maybe went to a Georgian school, and as a result of that, as a result of his education, his neighborhood, his reality, his everyday life, he knows better Georgian. And I want to emphasize here, and probably those Georgian viewers, those people who watch us and listen us, would agree with me that Georgian language is a very hard language to learn. Yeah, those people living in Georgian communities, neighborhoods, and going to private schools or Georgian schools, it's easy for them, and I call it privilege for these people, that they're privileged to have that kind of cultural, to be and to live in that kind of cultural reality and linguistic reality where they can be a fluent Georgian speaker. But in the case of rural areas, as I said, if you are coming from a socially weak family, and that's most of the time the case, there is a stereotype about ethnic Azerbaijanis living in Georgia that they are very rich and they have big house and so on and so on. But the reality is that ethnic minorities, most of the time coming from the rural areas, they are coming from a poor family, which results the disbalance, results the inequality and inequity of ethnic minorities living in the rural areas, in the peripheria, such as myself, and those ethnic minorities living in the capital and being privileged of in the social status, in the linguistic status, and in the educational status. And 1+4 program. Basically, this program was created with the support and recommendations of international organizations. It was not established by the government of Georgia. I can underline and emphasize it because when Georgia started to reform its educational system, they find out that ethnic minorities were excluded, and it was a systemic exclusion and discrimination as well, because ethnic minorities were not able to participate in the exam, national exam, and it was a real huge problem. And considering international experience, considering international recommendations, different countries, I don't know, various European countries even could be an example for that. Georgia adopted 1+4 program, which basically is what? You study 11 years in Azerbaijani, Armenian, or Russian school, and then after that you pass only one exam, and passing this one exam gives you the chance to start studying preparation program, some kind of prep program in Georgian. And after you take the exam in Georgian and you pass the exam, you can start studying this 4-year bachelor's program. You can become officially, after passing Georgian language test, you can officially become the student status. But this program was established 10 years ago. We are criticizing this program in various ways. We think that it's an equalizer for ethnic minority rights and for inclusion of ethnic minority youth into Georgian universities, because they cannot get enrolled in universities without this program. We support this program, and at the same time we think that it needs basic and systemic reforms to be adjusted to the existing reality. I will give you 2 examples of it. First example, and I know that you want to ask the question, but I want to mention this. First of all, Georgian government has declared that the goal of Georgia, the goal of the government and the country as a whole is to teach ethnic minorities the state language. But when it comes to teaching the state language, ethnic minority and education is free in Georgia, at least not higher education, but you know what I mean, yeah? High school education is free in Georgia. And then you see the reality that declaring Georgian government that education is free and every Georgia has to and obliged to teach its citizens Georgian language, then you see the first year program of 1+4, which is mainly teaching Georgian language. And the system, the government makes the students to pay for it. So on the one hand, we have the government which says that the government is obliged to teach Georgian language, and on the other hand, it makes students to pay for studying Georgian. And then second problem, we see obvious discrimination and segregation of ethnic minorities within this 1+4 program. And it's not only ethnic minorities are talking about this problem. A lot of non-governmental organizations, even one organization started a petition to stop this discrimination and segregation. The reality is that Georgian government has declared that there are several programs which is officially free in the country to get higher higher education. So, if, for example, if I am a Georgian citizen and I want to study or become a teacher and study teaching, get teacher's diploma at university, the government pays all your tuition for universities. Or you want to become a physics specialist, the government pays all your program. Chemistry the same, engineering the same. So there are several free of charge programs in Georgia at university level. But if you are an ethnic minority coming from 1+ program, you cannot participate in this program, and you have to pay for education. It's a clear example of discrimination and segregation of ethnic minorities in the higher education, and we are advocating to change this challenge, this problem.
Our guests are saying hello to you, Kamran, and they're thanking you for your views. A couple of them say that you need to take a deeper breath between sentences because they're worried for you. I understand your state of mind because I totally understand that, because you're animated because you're talking about the issues you deeply care about, and that is why we have you on the show.
Sure.
And we appreciate your time. I wanted to say hi to our viewers. I know that our English language audience is only growing right now, and we hope it does. Please be generous with your likes, because a simple movement of your finger predetermines as to how many people are able to see this broadcast. And thank you in advance if you did so already. Kamran, you've lived in Washington, D.C., from what I understand, for a while, and clearly you have an experience of living and traveling to ethnically diverse societies that see diversity not as a threat to the dominant culture, but as a source of strength for everybody. And the United States being the prime example. Maybe not right now, but in general it is. I mean, let's not ignore historic trends in this country just because certain things happened in the last couple of years. But let me ask a wider question. You're talking about the Georgian NGOs themselves. If it were Azerbaijanis only talking about this, that would be one part of the issue. But even Georgian non-governmental organizations themselves, a segment of the Georgian society, admit that discrimination and segregation in the higher education programs exists as it relates to the ethnic minorities. My question is, a wider question here. We in Azerbaijan, we see Georgia as an example of democracy and democracy building for the rest of the South Caucasus. When I hear you talk about these programs, I understand they've been instituted 10 years ago, and there was some European sort of recommendations or even pressure to get them started. To what extent is our view of Georgia as the source and example in democracy building to follow is correct? To what extent do we idealize the situation in Georgia, and to what extent we are rightfully expecting Georgia to lead in democracy building in the region?
So let me be very frank with you. I believe that Georgia is partly democratic country, and the fact that I'm sitting in Georgia and criticizing the government, criticizing the system, makes me think that there is basic liberties, basic freedoms in Georgia is protected, and that's a very beautiful thing to have, and we are proud of it. As a Georgian citizen, as a Georgian myself, ethnic Azerbaijani, I'm proud of it. And at the same time, I want to have more because, as you said, I've seen United States, I've seen various European countries, and the system works a different way in those Western countries. And happily, gladly, Georgia has declared that it wants to be part of Euro-Atlantic system. It wants to be part of Euro-Atlantic and European family, and having in mind that European family and Euro-Atlantic family is the family where minority groups are not only protect. I think the academia went a little bit further than 20th century's perspectives that ethnic minorities needs only protection, but ethnic minorities and other minority groups, religious minority groups, racial minority groups, needs to bring some systemic changes which could equalize the system, equalize the situation between the dominant group and ethnic minority groups. Let me give you a very simple example of that. For example, when in the article I was writing about ethnic minorities being invisible, ethnic Azerbaijanis being invisible in the country, there was this, I had this example of the governor office's video which was aimed to kind of popularize the qoymağı region. And we know that 42%, more than 42% of the qoymağı region is populated by ethnic Azerbaijanis. And you could not see any, a single example, a single thing showing this culture, showing this cultural heritage. Bringing up the culture and celebration of minorities and multiculturalism. And second issue, for example, we have the strategic development programs for regions, almost all regions. And this strategic development program even had only 3 times mentioned ethnic Azerbaijanis. This is a clear example of not seeing ethnic Azerbaijanis as an inherent part of Georgian society and qoymağı region. It's a kind of also a whitewashing, which used to be, which is the history, even some developed countries. And these developed countries now are saying that this is a wrong thing to do. You should not treat your minority groups this way. This is a wrong thing. And unfortunately, decision makers, those people who are on the top of the power in Georgia, and I'm not talking, I want to be clear for the Georgian audience, I'm not talking about only this government. I can say that almost all the governments, even the previous government, United National Movement, Georgian Dream, Shevardnadze, almost all the government had the same approach. They thought that if you are an ethnic minority, you are a second-class citizen. You should know your place in the country. You should not make a lot of noise. You should not demand your rights. This way you can live a happy and prosperous life. But if you become an active citizen, if you start demanding your rights, it's kind of an uncomfortable situation for those decision makers. And I think they're not used to this kind of ethnic minorities. And I kind of partly blame this in this maybe not partly, maybe mostly, I blame this the Republic of Azerbaijan, which always, and in your introduction, I think we might have a disagreement on that, but I think always the Republic of Azerbaijan always wanted to be the big brother of ethnic Azerbaijanis, and kind of as if Azerbaijan wanted to protect ethnic Azerbaijanis. Maybe it was the interest and the honest perspective, but the reality, the existing reality right now, what we have is that when ethnic Azerbaijanis, when something happens in Georgia about ethnic Azerbaijanis, for example, what happened in Banisi, there was this small conflict with the beer, and then it became inter-ethnic conflict the next day. Very sad and tragic incident, I could say. But what happened, the Minister of Internal Affairs of Georgia said that we are good neighbors with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, I'm not using the
right. You're not quoting
certain
directly,
words.
but you're the gist of what you said is
Minister of Internal Affairs said that we have good relationship with Azerbaijan, and it's impossible to have an interethnic conflict in the Manisi. There were two falses. Yeah, first, it was an interethnic conflict afterwards. Yeah, it didn't start as an ethnic conflict. It was a interpersonal conflict. But the second day was an interethnic conflict. And the second, as an ethnic Azerbaijani Georgian citizen and perceiving myself as a full Georgian, and there are a lot of ethnic Azerbaijanis living in Georgia, thinking like me. Yeah, this question came to my mind: if my Georgia's minister of Internal Affairs says that we have good relations with Azerbaijan, I don't want to have a bad relation with Azerbaijan and Georgia, between Azerbaijan and Georgia. But just imagine if there is a bad relation between Azerbaijan and Georgia, it means that there could be ethnic conflict. It's crazy. I think it's honest and subconscious thinking of that person, which kind of brings to my third argument, which is or fourth argument,
the prism of the neighboring state. If I may ask you a question, Kamran, you're touching upon the very interesting issue for me. What has the government of Azerbaijan done, or what has it not done, or what is it doing that it shouldn't be doing in order for ethnic Azerbaijanis, Georgians like yourself, to have a better life? I mean, is it getting in the way? Is the reaction from Azerbaijan too little, too much? Is it interfering? Or to the contrary, is it not paying attention to your plight? What would be the perfect balance? Is there a consensus among Georgians of Azerbaijani descent as to what the government of Azerbaijan should do? And if there is such a consensus, more or less, I understand 100 people can never agree on anything, but if there is a dominant consensus, let's say, is the government of Azerbaijan doing what you expect it to do?
Okay, this is really a sensitive issue, and it's really and maybe I will become talking slowly because it's I don't want
because
to,
our viewers are noticing that you're getting animated.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive topic for Georgia and for Azerbaijan as well, and for myself as well, because first of all, let me tell you that I don't own 100% truth, and I cannot say that 100% of ethnic Azerbaijanis living in Georgia are thinking the same way I am thinking, and I'm not saying that I'm 100% right or wrong in any case, yeah, but the reality is this: Azerbaijan Republic sees us as a diaspora in Georgia. The problem starts from here. The problem starts from here because if myself, so there is various organizations established by ethnic Azerbaijanis, non-governmental organizations established by ethnic Azerbaijanis in Georgia. If you check the diaspora Gov.us website, you will find that those almost all organizations are identified by the diaspora of Azerbaijan, the minister or the department of diaspora of Azerbaijan, as diaspora of ethnic of Azerbaijan in Georgia. And as a result of it, you find out the reality that almost more than 5%, 6.2% of Georgian population, almost all Georgian ethnic Azerbaijanis, have become the diaspora of the country. So it kind of gives, I'm not...
Right.
I'm not justifying Georgian dominant group and Georgian state for it, but this perceiving ethnic Azerbaijanis by Azerbaijan as the diaspora of Azerbaijan makes ethnic Georgians and the Georgian government and the decision makers to think that these people are not ours.
So basically,
If you know what I mean.
the approach of the Azerbaijani government, if I hear you correctly, the approach of the Azerbaijani government, viewing you, who view themselves as Georgians, viewing you as diaspora of Azerbaijan in Georgia, sort of undermines your status within the Georgian society, because the rest of Georgians and ethnic Georgians, or maybe even ethnic Armenians, or whoever else is considered Georgian, they see you as the other. They see you as the free agents of the Azerbaijani government. Is that so, though? I mean, is that true? Is the ethnic Azerbaijani community in Georgia a free agent of the state of Azerbaijan, or do you see that?
No, I don't think that ethnic Azerbaijanis. So personally, I think that I'm not diaspora of any country. I think I'm a full citizen of Georgia, and I could have an ethnic Azerbaijani identity, and I'm proud of it as well. And at the same time, I'm citizen of Georgia. But when this reality exists, some people think that it's okay to be like that. Yeah, some people get additional support, financial benefits from the Azerbaijani government, working as a diaspora in the country. You see what I mean? So those people working with Azerbaijan, identifying themselves as diaspora and seeing themselves as a way of Azerbaijan to strengthen its friendship, its relationship with Georgia and ethnic Georgians and ethnic Azerbaijanis in Georgia, creates this perception among Georgian people that you are the other, you are the part of neighboring country interests. So if something happens, I should not trust you. And I'm not justifying here the position of Georgian government, because whatever happens or whatever is done by the neighboring countries or other countries, you are the prime minister of the country. Yeah, you are the minister of the Georgian country, and you should not fall into this trap. But it happens. For example, the current prime minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, when he was the previous prime minister of Georgia, he is now the so there was some changes in the government, and he was re-elected as a prime minister of Georgia. When in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, he directly said to Azerbaijani youth that it's good that you are keeping close ties with your historic country. Then, for example, what happened? Previous parliament member Mariam Jashi, she said something like this. We are going to, and I'm paraphrasing here as well, she said something like this: we are going to protect the rights of ethnic Azerbaijanis in Georgia, so much so the Azerbaijan country, the Republic of Azerbaijan is protecting the rights of ethnic Georgians in Azerbaijan.
The numbers are different, though. I mean, how many Azerbaijanis?
It's not about, so I don't care about the numbers. Sorry for interruption. I don't care about the numbers. I care about my prime minister, my parliament member telling me that you are not my part. You are. I'm going to protect your rights if a neighboring country is going to protect someone else's rights.
So this conditionality offends you, that
I'm objectified in this reality, if you know what I mean. So I'm excluded. I'm objective. I'm dehumanized in this situation. It's very painful being a citizen of the country, trying to really be proud of your country and part of your country, and at the same time seeing this kind of people saying this kind of strange things.
If it makes you feel any better, Kamran, the government of Azerbaijan even sees me as part of the diaspora. It ignores my American identity as well. So I believe that is the thinking that must change within the government of Azerbaijan. All of us Azerbaijanis living abroad, yes, we love our country. Yes. We may have a difference of views on the government, but we love the country we come from. And do you think the government of Azerbaijan should be a little more sensitive to the issue? A lot of people are asking, let me put it this way. What can be the result of this policy by the government of Azerbaijan? What do you see the future as?
So let me put this way. I really, for me, it's not very important what kind of policies Azerbaijan has and does. I know that Azerbaijan is a strong country.
But when they come to you, to your identity, to you viewing you as diaspora, that's the question I'm asking.
As a citizen of Georgia, I would say that Azerbaijan should play the role of creating the interethnic solidarity or support interethnic solidarity in Georgia. And first of all and foremost, I think Azerbaijan should recognize and acknowledge the agency of ethnic Azerbaijanis living in Georgia, not just seeing ethnic Azerbaijanis as just the diaspora of Azerbaijan, but an inherent part of Georgia and an agent within Georgia. And for me, the most important question about the results goes to the government of Georgia. What I would want what I would demand, I have the right to demand from the government of Georgia, differently from the government of the Republic of Azerbaijan. I would demand from my country this, to really live on the standards it's claiming and declaring, to walk the talk, to do what they are preaching. In the Constitution of Georgia, we have written that all citizens of Georgia are equal. Doesn't matter their ethnic backgrounds, their religious backgrounds, or their any kind of identity. I would demand from my government to live to up to the standards and to see me as an inherent part of my country, not as a threat. It's very hard to explain the existing reality in 1 hour show, but the reality is that even myself, I'm a researcher. I've studied in United States. Sometimes when I'm conducting research and working in the region, I see some people are observing me as if I am a threat for my country. It's really insane to have this approach towards its citizens when you can use these resources, these financial and human resources, for building better schools, for creating kindergartens. There is a very simple thing to do for Georgia. For example, most of the schools in Georgia, the books are printed not in Georgia. In Georgia even is not printing the books which is taught and learned by the ethnic Azerbaijanis of Georgia.
So the textbooks are printed in Azerbaijan and brought from Azerbaijan. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, please.
There is this books, and then the dominant group demands from ethnic Azerbaijanis to kind of speak in Georgian. How can I speak in Georgian if the government is not able and capable to bring and give my books?
All right, let me read a comment from our viewer. The viewer's name is Gigrad. I don't know whether she or he is in Georgia, but let me read the comment, and I would like you to comment on the comment, and we'll see what you think about it. Gigrad says, Kamran's quest for integration is commendable, but one must also understand the specifics of the Georgian thinking. No matter how much Georgian Azeris disassociate themselves from Azerbaijan, they will always be considered others, quote unquote. I'm not saying this is good or bad. It's just how the Georgian society has functioned for centuries, not only with respect to Azeris, but with respect to everyone who is not Orthodox. I believe Georgian Orthodox, and this isn't about to change. Let me combine that with a comment from Samvel Tomian. He's asking about your attitude towards Armenians. I believe Armenians living in Georgia. Can we combine these two? Can we say that the Georgians, ethnic Georgians, see ethnic Azerbaijanis and ethnic Armenians the same way? Whatever you say about their attitude towards Azerbaijanis, does it also apply to ethnic Armenian community living in Georgia, or is it different? And why is it different if there is a difference?
Georgian identity, I have studied and worked on this issue. It's a very challenging topic. It's for our viewer, it's very easy to write in 1 or 2 sentences. But it's kind of more or less something like that. So let me put this way. Yeah. First of all, Georgian identity was formed, ethnic Georgian identity, I want to emphasize on that, ethnic Georgian identity was formed based on 3 magic words, yeah, homeland, language, and religion. When you say homeland, you mean Georgian country, religion, you mean Orthodox Christianity, and language, you mean ethnic Georgian. This is the reality we're living in right now. However, Georgia, the contemporary modern Georgia, has declared that it's changing, and they're taking steps towards changing this. And I see that there are a lot of Georgians living up to the standards, not those one in the power, but those people in the non-governmental organization, and some of them in the power as well, but not in the top positions of in the hierarchy. It's changing, I can say. It's changing for integration, for protection of minority rights, and for creating a real a society where someone's ethnicity or religion does not make a huge difference. I'm not, I might sound a little bit utopic or kind of someone who dreams too much, but I want to live in that kind of country, and I'm doing everything in my research work, in my activism, in my non-governmental work, and in my almost all work. I want to bring these changes. I see that young people, young generation are being transformed by themselves, by their co-citizens. I see that as Georgia goes into more democratic reforms, and Georgia declares to be part of European and Euro-Atlantic family, it's changing. But challenges exist. I know that the majority of ethnic Georgians would think that Georgia is for Georgians only. Georgia is for ethnic Georgians, Orthodox Christians. A lot of people have, within a conversation, have said that I can never become a real or true Georgian, quote unquote. But I think that citizenship is enough for one to become a real Georgian, and yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to say something else to our viewer's position.
Right.
But in terms of
Yes,
Armenian,
let's move on to our. I was going to move on to the ethnic Armenian community in Georgia and compare and contrast their position with ethnic Azerbaijanis. Not because we're used to comparing everything with Armenia, but it is also a large and important part of the Georgian society. And since
sure.
Azerbaijan and Armenia are at war, is that true of the ethnic Azerbaijani community and ethnic Armenian community in Georgia?
No, ethnic Azerbaijanis and ethnic Armenians are not in war in Georgia, happily and gladly. We currently I'm working on a research paper trying to study and find out the let's say the influences of the Second Karabakh War on ethnic Azerbaijanis and ethnic Azerbaijanis. And based on my interviews, I could maybe it's a kind of prediction. The product, the document, the research document is not ready yet, but I could predict a couple of things as a result of this conflict, as an influence of this conflict on the ethnic Azerbaijanis and ethnic Azerbaijanians, for Armenians and Azerbaijanians. First of all, I can say that ethnic Armenians and ethnic Azerbaijanians want to live in peace in Georgia, partly because they have accepted the reality that they are living in Georgia. And there is this third ethnic group which is kind of dominating in the country and ruling the system, and therefore ethnic Azerbaijanians and Armenians are not competing with each other for the power. In some cases, it could be identified as something good, but we see that there is no real integration between ethnic Azerbaijanians and ethnic Armenians. And as a Georgian citizens as a whole, that's still a problem. But happily and gladly, we see that there is no conflict between ethnic Azerbaijanians and ethnic Armenians in Georgia. Secondly, I can say that for the fact that ethnic Azerbaijanians and Armenians are living geographically in different regions, it avoids them from everyday relations. That's why partly that is the reason also why there is no conflict between these groups. Thirdly, I can say that yes, ethnic Armenians and ethnic Azerbaijanians are mostly watching, respectively, Armenian media and Azerbaijanians Azerbaijani media, and they're influenced with narratives of both countries. But however, their agenda, their political and everyday agenda is influenced also by the Georgian media, partly, and by the local media. And I can say that local medias are partly also influenced by the Azerbaijan and Armenia, respectively, in both regions. But one of the most important thing here is that both groups have accepted and acknowledged that they are part of Georgia, rather than, politically, talking, not ethnically, politically talking, that they're part of Georgia. Very interesting observation from my interviews about this research is that ethnic Azerbaijanians are more prone to be part of Georgian political identity, and more prone to say that they are firstly Georgian citizens, and then ethnically Azerbaijanis, but in the case of ethnic Azerbaijanians, it's a little bit different. They most of the time call Armenia as homeland, and they say that they are Armenians first of all, and they are just citizens of Georgia. It's really a different situation between ethnic Azerbaijanians and Armenians, which kind of gives me the reason to be hopeful that ethnic Azerbaijanians are really active, and gives us the reality that in the Georgian political agenda, ethnic Azerbaijanians are more vocal. They're demanding for returning their surnames. One of the campaign we started several years ago, and we want to get rid of Russian surnames and to return our surnames Li, Zada, Oğlu.
So get rid of the
Soye,
Slavic
etc.
suffixes like OV and OVA.
Yeah.
Kamran, yes.
And then
Yes.
also,
I wanted to. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I wanted to ask you a quick question.
Yeah, also, we are very actively demanding Nowruz as a celebration day for holiday for the whole Georgia. We don't see this kind of activism among Armenian youth and Armenian population, and I think it could be explained partly because ethnic Azerbaijanians are saying that we are part of Georgia. We want to protect our rights in Georgia. We want to have our place and voice and space in Georgia. Rather than comparing ethnic Armenians who most of the time, even the most vocal, liberal, pro-Western ethnic Armenians and activists most of the time say that they are firstly Armenians and then Georgians.
Okay, let me get quicker comments from you, if we may, because I don't want to take too much of your time, but the questions keep coming.
Sure.
Murat Jami, our viewer, I don't know from what country, he doesn't say, says, as long as the country of Azerbaijan is corrupt, undeveloped, and governed under dictatorship, ethnic Azeris will never get respected by other ethnicities. I don't agree with the statement, but this is a statement as I read it to you. Let me put it this way. Are ethnic Azerbaijanis in Georgia, such as yourself, is the view of Georgians, or let's say of the rest of the Georgians, on the Azerbaijani government somehow gets reflected on you as well? Or let's say, does the lack of democracy in Azerbaijan and backwardness in democratic building in the country, does it also affect the way you, ethnic Azerbaijanis in Georgia, are seen? Is there a relation between the two?
I cannot talk about relations or causation or casualities, but maybe it's because they have lived in Soviet Union together and they have this perception of Azerbaijani or portrait of Azerbaijani. I don't have a certain answer for that, but what my answer is that we are discriminated. We are our rights are violated in Georgia just because the system does not see us. It's not because they see that I don't know if we were ethnic Germans, I don't know what would happen. I think if ethnic Germans were 6% in Georgia, maybe the approach would be the same. They're just afraid of different people, I think. So I don't think that there is causation or correlation between these two.
Got it. Let me read a question or a comment from Anastasia Kolishkina. In such a religious country, do you really believe that you can ever be Georgian? Let me put it in a context. Democratic reforms that are being encouraged by Europe and maybe the United States, let's say the West. The West is generally, with the exception of the United States, can be described as post-religious, definitely the Western Europe. When we bring these ideals and these reforms into a country at the pillar of the identity of which lies religion, as you described. Being Georgian means speaking Georgian, and being Orthodox Christian, right?
Orthodox Christian.
So when we bring these ideals, can they exist in a country with such a level and degree of religiosity to the extent that if you don't belong to a particular religious group, you're not Georgian. You're not considered to be a Georgian. Is it possible?
I think here the problem is not with the religion. I think all the religions, Islam, Christianity, it's Orthodox or Catholic, doesn't matter. In itself, in its core, has the love for your fellow human. Yeah. So I don't think that here, and the Christianity, which is based on the love of Jesus Christ, and so on and so on. I don't think that here the problem is religion itself or someone being religious itself. In academia, articles are being published about being post-secular in conflict, transforming conflicts, and etc. etc. And you said in United States, someone could be very religious, and because of their religious beliefs, they are working for inclusion for LGBT communities, LGBT plus communities, for minorities, for people of color. So it's coming from Christianity itself. So I don't think that in itself Orthodox Christianity is problem. I think how is executed in the country is problem. How it's perceived in the country, that this is the shaper of the country. I believe that someone, I'm not a very religious person, but someone from, I'm coming from a Muslim family, someone from a Muslim community and someone from Christian community could bring peace and integration and solidarity much more and better in some cases, rather than not religious people. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just I don't want to generalize, but I think the love of other person in the religion is so strong that it's not the religion itself, it's how the religion shaped and given to the society in Georgia. That's the problem.
Let me ask the last question, because I kept you for an hour and 10 minutes, and I understand it's straining to speak in a language in which you normally don't think, which is not your native. It's very difficult for me as well. Let me ask you this question, and let me set it up. Georgia and the Georgian governments in the last, let's say, a number of years emphasize good relations, neighborly relations with Azerbaijan. And at the same time, we see that the ethnic Azerbaijanis are regarded with a little bit of suspicion. I'm coming back to the same question, but from a different angle. Let me put it this way to you. Let's look at the trends in the population numbers in the last, let's say, 20 years, 30 years, for however long the statistic is available. I like to tell stories through the lives of the people that I know or I get to know. Let me show on the screen my personal friend, Shahla Humbatova. She is a human rights defender in Azerbaijan until very recently, just because my personality is, I never ask another Azerbaijani where their roots are from or what region they're from, because I don't like doing that. I don't think that's a fair question, and I don't think that question should be asked at all. But recently I found out that my friend Shahla she hails from Georgia. The way I found out is through her Facebook post, when she said she fled Georgia in 1992 together with her family because she fled Swans. This came up after Dmanisi. Here Shahla is pictured with former First Lady Melania Trump and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. She received an award from the U.S. government as a woman of courage, among a number of women from all over the world. And we're very happy that she did. Let me put this story in a context. The population of Azerbaijanis in Georgia is dwindling. They don't learn any other language other than Azerbaijani. Many fail to speak Georgian the way you do as a native language. So they have only one way to go. They go to Azerbaijan. There is nowhere else for them to go. And we hear from a lot of these people. Does it give Azerbaijan the right to sort of keep tabs, keep its finger on the pulse of what's going on in Georgia? Because as happy as we are to have Shahla Humbetova, the Georgian society must understand that today, had things been differently, she could have been a Georgian human rights defender receiving an award from the White House. But she's Azerbaijani. It's our gain, it's Georgia's loss. But given the fact that all Azerbaijanis go from Georgia mainly to Azerbaijan, doesn't it give Azerbaijan the right to sort of take a closer look? And if you could comment on the statistics, on the upward or downward trend.
It's a very hard question to kind of sum up, but let me put this way. After the collapse of Soviet Union, many researchers, many people from academia have predicted that after the collapse of communism and socialism, nationalism could emerge in various countries of Soviet Union and become worse for the ordinary people than it used to be the problematic system in Soviet Union and communism. And what happened in reality in 90s was the becoming the reality, this prediction. In 90s, we saw that Georgia faced two ethnic conflicts in Abkhazia and South Ossetia. We saw that, yes, in Qoymağı region, there was problems for ethnic Azerbaijanis, and it was mostly created by the eco-migrants ones in Manisi, in Bolnisi, in Marneoli municipalities. And as much as Georgian government today says that it was or dominant ethnic groups members, and some of my friends from ethnic Georgian community says that it was because the economic stagnation or so on, the people, the ethnic Azerbaijanis left the country. And not only ethnic Azerbaijanis left the country, ethnic Russians left the country, ethnic Armenians left the country, our Azerbaijanians left the, Georgians themselves left the country, but the reality was that in the cases of most of the Azerbaijanis, the problem, the issue was kind of the oppression of ethnic Azerbaijanis by the dominant group members. So today, the number of Georgian population are decreasing. After 2002, it was almost 5%. In 2002, the census of Georgian population was almost 5 million, and now we have 3.7 million in Georgia. And most of the Georgian, as well as Georgian ethnic group, number of Georgian ethnic Georgians are decreasing. Statistic-wise, number of ethnic Azerbaijanians decreased from 284,000 people to 233,000 people. But percentage-wise, the number of ethnic Azerbaijanis has kind of increased, and ethnic Azerbaijanis are, because ethnic Georgians left more. Right. It doesn't mean that ethnic Azerbaijanians, number of ethnic Azerbaijanians have increased. It's just ethnic Georgians left more. And nowadays, I strongly believe that it's because the economic situation in Georgia, which gives us the situation that the majority of Georgian people, Georgian citizens, when I say Georgian people, I mean all Georgians, citizens of Georgia, leave the country. But yes, ethnic Azerbaijanians and ethnic minorities in general face the problem of language barriers. They don't have the those international standards which gives the right for ethnic minorities to have the ability, the chances to interact with their local government. It's not fulfilled in Georgia. The local governance in Georgia does not serve local people in their language. It's only in Georgian. That's the problem. European standards is not that way, which kind of excludes people from participation in political and public life, which kind of results in the fact that it excludes them from social economic life, because if you don't have a say in the political processes, if your vote doesn't matter, if you don't have ability let's say strong position in your political choice, it's very hard to participate in the socio-economic life of the country. And as a result of that, we see that ethnic minorities are having troubles in the country. I don't want to conclude with the perception you said, with this opinion you mentioned, that Azerbaijan has right to put its hand in the pulse what's happening in the country, in Georgia.
I didn't say meddle, but I meant I didn't say like interfere or meddle in the Georgian affairs, but sort of like watch from a distance as to what's going on. That's what I meant by my question. Yes.
I think, from my point of view, I think Georgia should first see that its citizens are suffering in this situation. They are not politically active. They have problems. They don't have voice, and Azerbaijan. I don't know. I really yes, Azerbaijan could be a neighbor country, strategic partner for the country, but for civic integration, I don't see, and I know that, yes, you say that Shahlar, I admire that woman. When I was in United States pursuing my master's program with Fulbright program, she just got that prize, and it was really, I wanted to meet her, and I didn't know that she was from Dmanisi as well. That's a very kind of sad and good news.
It might be from Dmanisi, might not be. I don't want to mislead you, but I know that it's some part of Georgia.
She's
Yes.
from Georgia. She's
Right.
from Georgia. But yes, it was a problem in 90s, and now I don't think that the government of Azerbaijan, or any kind of government, any kind of political elites in Georgia or in Azerbaijan cares about the people. I think most of the time it's just the systemic approaches. They don't care about the people. They just think that it's diaspora. The Georgian government does not care about the people. They just think that it's the other. They don't even. You see what you remember what I said. The Minister of Internal Affairs said that we have good relations with Azerbaijan, and we are not going to have an inter-ethnic conflict in Dmanisi. It's such a sad story. I think one sentence sad story we have with the quote of Minister of Internal Affairs of Georgia. I think that me myself, I lived in United States. I don't want to be a human rights defender in Azerbaijan, in United States, in Turkey, in Germany, in anywhere else. I want to work and live in my country, and I'm doing all my best. And I want to emphasize here in my conclusion that there are really strong human rights defenders in Georgia, and I don't think that Shahlar, maybe it was early 90s, mid 90s.
That's what her post said.
Yeah, but now that kind of thing, I don't think that could happen in Georgia. Someone just fleeing from Georgia just because being ethnic Azerbaijanis. I don't want to live in that reality. I know that if something like that not happening, but there is a little chance of starting point of that reality. I know we have brilliant human rights defenders in Georgia, socialists, leftists, rightists, I don't know, very open-minded, very inclusive, very good human writers and human rights defenders, and I think those people will never let. And Georgian youth, I know that Georgian youth have when something happens, Georgian youth really, and I'm including ethnic minority youth as well. When I say Georgian youth, they are really vocal. I want to remind you a couple of years ago when on the 20th June, a Russian member of Duma, Russian parliament member, visited Georgia. What happened in Georgian in Tbilisi? They really got
Right.
they were angry and were so mad on the government. And I think that this kind of perception, the prediction you are having right now, I don't think that will be stopped by the Azerbaijan, but rather than by the youth of Georgian, and I mean inclusive Georgian youth, ethnic Azerbaijanians, ethnic Armenians, Abkhazians, Russians, Georgians, and etc.
Kamran, I share in your belief, and I believe that a strong, vibrant civil society in Georgia is in the interest of not only the Republic of Georgia. I totally agree with you. It's also in the interest of Azerbaijan and Armenia. Because bringing democracy to Georgia does not stop there. At least our hope is that democracy from Georgia will travel to Azerbaijan and Armenia if Armenia needs it. In that sense, I'm trying to say that Armenia has democratic institutions of its own. The problem is mainly with Azerbaijan, and I hope our audience will forgive me for this observation. Kamran, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts tonight. I truly hope that this is not the last time we talk to you. Let's hope that in the future, when we get together and discuss these issues, the events preceding these discussions will be somewhat more uplifting than what caused our conversation today. Again, I thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Kamran Mammadli, our guest from Georgia, and ethnic Azerbaijani, member of the Azerbaijani community. I don't like defining people for themselves. I believe they do a good job defining themselves. Speaking of which, on Monday at 10 p.m. Yerevan, Baku, and Tbilisi time, we have a guest from Yerevan, Richard Girogosian. He's an American, Armenian-American observer who happens to live in Yerevan. I'll let him tell his story. I don't want to define him, as I said. He will discuss the situation in Armenia prior to the elections. And of course, we will touch upon all the issues related to the bilateral relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. We expect your attention. We anticipate your questions. And thank you very much. Again, let's set the date. Monday at, I want to say the date, but I believe it will be the 13th. Right? No, the 14th, Monday, the 14th of June. And it'll be 10 p.m. in South Caucasus capitals, and it'll be 2 p.m. here in Washington, D.C. and on the Eastern Seaboard. I hope to see you then, and thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.